Great. Well, I'm excited to be here with Damon Audia, the CFO of AGCO. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You're just completed your third year as CFO for AGCO. What have been the company's most significant milestones?
Yeah, well, a lot's changed in 3 years. It doesn't seem like 3 years, but if I think about what's probably been the most impactful, I'd probably say there's been three key things. One is we acquired or did the joint venture with Trimble. So a huge part as we into our technology stack and helped us formulate the PTx brand. That's been a huge milestone, largest ag tech deal ever. So that was a big one. Second one is we made the decision with that acquisition to divest grain and protein. So it was really not a synergistic part of our business. We divested that to really focus our attention on equipment and the technology stack. So those were two big things. And then the third one was our resolution with TAFE, our largest shareholder, also a supplier to us. By reaching resolution in that, it really changes how we can approach our capital structure, return capital back to our shareholders. So when you look at those three things over the last couple of years, it's really been transformational for us.
You're not in marketing, but I would imagine even a CFO, you have an elevator pitch when people talk to you at cocktail parties about what an AGCO does. What's your elevator pitch for what AGCO is?
Yeah, well, I mean, step back at the industry, right? First, those who don't know ag, it's a dynamic industry. Yeah. The mega trends of what we're seeing, population growing from 8 billion to 10 billion, middle class growing, as they grow, they consume a lot more grain, all the influence and the needs for sustainability, so increase in ethanol, biofuels, all of that putting pressure, creating a mega trend for more grain, and at the same time, countries around the world putting more pressure on farmers to produce more with less chemicals. It's a great industry for us to be in. So the backdrop is great for us. If you look at AGCO, we're the largest pure play ag company out there. And we have three things that really differentiate us versus the competition. One is our technology stack. We start retrofit and we're mixed fleet. So we bring all of our new technology for the farmers, allows them through this separate channel to experiment with the technology at a lower price point than having to buy a large brand new piece of equipment. We're the only one that's doing that, and you see that on display here with some of our technology like OutRun. Second one is FarmerCore, transforming how those farmers get service. We talk about being the most farmer-focused company. We're doing the service on the farm for them. Sort of like Amazon. When we grew up, we used to buy in the mall. Today, we order on Amazon. Traditional dealers, you had to bring all of your equipment to the store to get work done. Now we're doing 5+% of the work on the farm for that farmer when he or she needs it and how they want it done. So significantly transformational. And then the third part is Fendt. Fendt North America, we had this unique opportunity to bring proven products that are performing better technology, better warranty, and we've demonstrated that in other parts of the world. Coming into the North American market, we now have a chance to offer farmers, a product that they've been looking for. And for us to take our market share from around 10%, there's huge opportunities to take that up to 20 or more and really get more to what we're entitled given our shares around the world. And, those are three unique value propositions that the customers deserve and that us and the competition will be hard for them to replicate.
I would imagine the idea of eating into market share with Fendt excites investors. But what are some of the top things that you would say to investors that would surprise them about AGCO?
Yeah, I think investors have seen the upside. Again, if you look at our transformation over the last several years, this was a company during the prior cycle that was 4% margin at the trough, 6% at the midpoint, and 8% at peak. So we were your typical cyclical company. Under our CEO's leadership, we really have transformed how we approach our business, how we've transformed our cost structure, and we did very well as the markets improved in 22 and 23. We delivered record revenues, we delivered record margins of 12%, and my investors sort of said, yeah, but the industry was very strong. What they don't see, what they haven't been able to see yet, is how we've really transformed the cost structure and improved the bottom end level of profitability, because they still think AGCO has the potential to be a 4% company at the trough. Well, this year, we just told our investors that the minimum that we're going to do at the low point of the cycle is 7.5%. And so we're really trying to demonstrate, we've got great products, great high margin growth products, but on the downside, you're now looking at a company that used to be 4%, maxing at 8%. You're looking at a company that's likely troughing somewhere around 7.5% with upside into the 14 to 15% range. And so, again, I don't think the investors fully appreciate what we've done because we haven't proven it just yet. We've got to get through this year.
even as CFO, I think everyone in this company talks to farmers, and I think you do as well. When you're talking to farmers, what are you hearing about from them?
Yeah, I'm fortunate. I get to travel around the world, and I get to talk to farmers in all the different places that I get to go. And I think from an AGCO level, they love what we're doing. They're starting to see more and more of the farmer first, what we're doing to help them become more profitable, reduce their input cost, improve their yields. But I think the general theme in a more macro perspective is hesitation, concern. There's so much volatility in the marketplace right now. You think about the geopolitical tensions, the tariff and the trade implications on who's going to be purchasing the grain, what's the cost of that. There's just a lot of uncertainty, whether you're in South America with Brazil, where there may be some optimism, but it hasn't materialized yet. Our farmers here in North America are looking at, pretty low net farm income, who's going to buy their grain. And so there's just a lot of uncertainty, which is creating a lot of hesitation for the farmers around the world right now.
So when you walk around Farmer Progress, we were here second day, what are you hearing when you're talking to people? What is impressing them? What are some of the issues on top of their mind?
Yeah, again, I think the uncertainty of what's going on in the macro backdrop right now is really creating a lot of hesitation. I've been fortunate to go back and forth between our booth here with the equipment and the PTx booth. A lot of excitement on the technology. As input costs are still high, commodity prices are low, the amount of engagement I've seen on the OutRun, the autonomous grain cart, the now offering for the autonomous tillage, farmers are trying to figure out how can that help them drive their productivity, get their crops off the field faster, at a lower cost for them, given these labor challenges they're dealing with. So I've been very surprised by how many farmers are talking to the teams at both our booth here and the PTx booth about OutRun. Again, I think it's a game changer for us, a game changer for farmers, and it's just got to get into that comfort level where you can take that operator out of the cab and let that machine do its job, knowing that it's being done by computers, which is a little scary when it's hauling your grain.
Yeah, I would imagine uncertainty is a great demand lever push for conversion towards things like autonomy, for sure. Can you talk a little bit about your past? You came from automotive, some of the iconic brands in that space. What are some of the similarities and differences between where you came automotive and agriculture?
Yeah, so I think the similarities would be sort of think about like the product developments.
Okay.
If you think about designing a new product, you think about the number of the supply chain, the depth of that, which is like tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers, very similar, right? For us to introduce a new tractor, a new combine, it's multiple years in the making. And you're working with suppliers who have suppliers. That's very similar. These are big ships that you cannot move overnight because that supply chain is so long and so complicated. So I'd say a lot of similarity there. The dealer network. Again, in my automotive background, we sold to independent dealers. We do the same here. They're ambassadors of our brands. So I may be passionate about AGCO, I may love our products, but I need my dealer to be equally as knowledgeable about this, equally as passionate, because he or she are the ones that are engaging with those farmers and making the sale. So a lot of similarities there. I think the difference is, volume. Again, when I grew up, I would be used to making 1,000 cars a day running off the assembly line. My big factory makes 100 tractors a day. So the volume is different, and of those 100 tractors, every one of them is different. Now, in the automotive industry, I may have a different color, may have a different rim on the tire, but generally there's not a lot of variances. When you look at a tractor assembly line, there could be 5 different sizes, and each one of those are going to be different based on what that farmer's needs are. So there may be different configurations. So every tractor running down that line is effectively different. So you talk about the complexity for those operators, getting it right, making sure they have the right things in or not putting extra. That's a lot of complexity. So I think that's a difference. I'd say technology is in the middle.
Okay.
So everything you sort of see going on outside of the vehicle, autonomy, think about adaptive cruise control.
Yep.
Things like that are very similar for us. Think about our way lines and our guidance systems. A lot of similarity in technology there. But what ag has that automotive doesn't have is the technology that when you're in the cab, all of those different things that farmer has to do, all those decisions he or she's making while they're in the field, the more as we continue to automate those tasks, that's where there's a lot more technology on this side of the business versus how it would sort of refer or compare to the automotive side.
AGCO's in the midst of a big transformation, not only from a product set, but also organizationally. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that means?
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive transformation, but at the end of the day, everything that we're doing is trying to make things easier for the farmer. All of the things that we're doing, whether that's with our distribution network, with our brands, a lot of the things that we're rewiring inside the company are to drive efficiency, to help make it simpler and easier for us to service the farmers, to take some of the administrative things away from our people and let them focus more on the creative things, more on the analysis, and help drive better productivity for the farmers, and take some of the sort of the busy work, that tactical things that have to get done. How do you move that to a center of excellence where that's all they're doing and they're making that better,
Right.
and put that in the lowest cost place where it's not really influencing the end result? And that's a lot of change. That's 35 years of culture that we are now transforming. But every one of these initiatives that we're mapping out right now have a focus as how does it make things better? How does it make it faster, simpler, easier? And that's for our teams to let us service the farmers better, or it's how do we work with the farmers to make their lives easier?
Exciting times. Well, Damon Audia, CFO with AGCO, thank you so much. It's been great.
Pleasure.